Ready to take your materials to the next level? In this video, we're going to be comparing Cycle's Principal BFD to Octane's Universal Material. Which one gives you more flexibility, speed, or realism? We're going to find out in this video. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Patrick LeVar. I make videos for Blender Octane. If that's something you're into, consider smashing the like button. Enough of my jibber jabber. Let's get straight into the video. All right, guys, so we're in my scene here. This is my default Blender scene. I actually have Cycles and Octane both set up. So here you see in the scene here, I'm in Cycles. If I ever want to use Octane, I literally just switch over and now I'm in Octane. So I've set this preset file up for me. Like sometimes I want to work in Octane, sometimes I want to work in Cycle. It's not a big deal here. Again, this video is not to be like which one is better. I'm just here to show you what the options are, what is different about Octane Blender versus Cycles, but not even Blender, Octane render versus Cycle render, okay? That's what I'm here for. You guys can fight over in the comments which one is better down below. First thing first, let's jump over to Cycles. I don't want this to be too long of a video, but I want it to be lengthy enough to get you guys some info. Principal BFD shader. All right, there's our base color. We all familiar with our base color, nothing special. Okay, let's switch over to Octane. Universal Material, which is our Principal BFD. Right off the back, it's massive, right? Okay, that throws a lot of people off, right? They're like, whoa, why is it so big, right? Well, my analogy would be you have Cycles, which is kind of like your little Cessna plane. Very simple, easy controls, great for beginners to learn how to fly. Then you jump into Octane, you're jumping into a 747 jumbo jet. Completely opposite worlds, right? Like you got switches and dials everywhere. That's my analogy of it, okay? If we jump in here, base layer is pretty much like how it says, there's our albedo. We can change our colors and stuff right here. Plus, we have the diffuse BRDF model here, okay? This actually has some different, I don't know, algorithms or way it produces diffuse materials. Again, you're going to see this trending a lot with Octane. We have a lot more settings. So we've got the Octane, which you probably won't even see the difference. I don't know the math or the wizardry that's going on in the back behind the scenes. If you want to know more, you can jump into the Octane manual and it will break down what each one of those models is doing. Let's go back to Cycles. Next on Cycles, on our BFD, we have the metallic shader. We can crank that up. Okay, now we've got metallic going. And look, let's go ahead and crank down our roughness, bring it all the way down. There is your metallic. Super easy setup, right? Let's go to Octane. Octane, here's our metallic slider. I slide that up to 1. Okay, and where's my roughness? Bring my roughness. Let's go ahead and bring that down. There it is. There is my metallic, I should say. Which one is better? You guys can fight over that in the comments. Small commercial break. If you're getting any value out of this video, guys, smash that like button for me. And as a gift for smashing that like button, you can jump over to my Gumroad. I've got all of this free stuff here for Blender Octane. Materials, little plugins and things that I've been working on, like this little geo drop generator for Octane Blender. And again, I've got just assets that I've made from different projects. I put them all on this Gumroad. Everything on here is free, except these two little VFX courses. Everything else is free, guys. I got a free Blender Octane startup file, which you just download. This helps you get started up. The settings and everything is all set up. You just pop the file in and you're ready to go. If you're interested in that, take a look at the Gumroad. Lots of free stuff. And if you're really serious and you want to go hardcore, take a look at my Blender Octane School community right now. For the next week, I'm going to be taking $5 off. So it is $10. Normally costs $15 to get in a month. This is $10 straight up. Or if you want to pay annual, that option has just been added. So take a look. We got material asset. You can come in here and I got a big material asset library that is constantly growing. You can have access to it. We got node setups, one-on-one with me, whatever you guys need, community help. This is where it's at. Blender Octane. Back to the video. Enough of my jib. I'll give you another quick look at it. Here's Octane. Here's Cycles. Okay, good. Moving on. Then we have, while we're still here, we have our roughness, right? We can crank up our roughness. Let's go ahead and just give it like a kind of, there's your roughness controls. Nothing special. Jump back over to Octane. Here's our roughness. Now, I will say it looks a little bit different once you start messing with the roughness. Like, this just looks, I can't put my finger on it, but a little bit different. Go back to Octane. Cycles. There's Cycles. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys to dispute in the comments, which is better. But there is a slight difference. Then, while we're in Octane, we also have, I guess these are probably somewhere else. Anthropopathy. Okay, hang on. Let me jump back over to, let me just stay with Cycles as the leading one right now because it's easier to follow along. All right, so that was our metallic. There's our roughness. IOR, which is set to default 1.4. I set mine to 1.5, which is default for us in Octane. IOR, there it is. There's our IOR. Not really seeing too much of a difference here. I'm gonna go ahead and crank that back down. There's our IOR. We come over here to Octane IOR. Here's our IOR. Boom. Here's our IOR. Again, look at our settings for IOR. Here's our IOR values 1.5. Then we've got dielectric 1 IOR mapping. Then we've got the metallic reflection mode. Again, artistic IOR plus color RGB. This is so you can literally dial in, like, especially when you're doing metals, you can literally go into the IOR plus color values and scientifically get the numbers that gold should be and plug those ROI values into here to get an exact close scientific match as far as IOR values of metals, different metals and things like that. There's all of our settings. Let's go back over to cycles. Now cycles, I think we might have some of those here too. Let me see here. So we got subsurface radius, specular GGX, transmission weight, coat. Okay, here's our coat layer. We do have some more IOR stuff here, and then the tint layer that you can play with, sheen and emission. Yeah, I'm not seeing the settings. Well, maybe I think you might want to use these radius. Hang on. Down in the comments, let me know. But I think you might be able to do that here because I'm seeing these three here, but like subsurface. So I'm assuming maybe you can do it there. I haven't been using the newest updated version of cycles ever since they used this new node. So this little new node is a little new to me still too, because I've been so deep in Octane, but maybe we can do those values there. Okay. That was that. Here's our alpha. Again, nothing special. Alpha for us in Octane. For alpha, we would scroll down. Let me go ahead and close up the IRR tab. For us, it is in the transmission properties. If we go into transmission opacity, here it is. Same thing, right? It's doing the same thing. Then we have here fake shadows, which when we start getting like enable, once you start getting into like subsurfacing, glass, transparent materials, it's default to set up to work like how the caustics and things will work in real life. And that takes quite a lot of computing power. If you just want to fake it, fake shadows, it's a lot more efficient on the render times and stuff like that. So there's that option. And then effect alpha, this also, again, enable to have reflection alpha, affect the alpha channel. Again, this is, many more options. Okay, so trust me, if you don't know what this is, you wouldn't even never need to use it. But when that time comes when you're like, how do I do this? It most likely will be around here, okay? So that's our option. We got 3 more extra options there for our opacity. Let's go back to cycles. Subsurface here. Subsurface, we got our random walk. Then we've got different random walk skin, random walk, and then you've got this other one, different subsurface models, I guess, again, right? And then here's your weight. And then this, I know this affects the color and stuff of our subsurface because I do remember using that. Then you got your scale and, here's an anthropopody, blah, blah, blah. And also, I'm not going to try it, whatever. Here's that. We also do have that for Octane here. If we come back to Octane, when we're in here, it is right here. I guess when you're making like, if you flip over the bottom of a pan and you can see those kind of like lines in the metal or on the bottom of a pot, that's where you would set all this stuff up. Here we can control the rotation, the spread, and the value of that and the roughness also. So that's all that. Let me close up the roughness. Subsurface. Now, subsurface for us is it's a monster, right? We've got a lot of stuff here. Let me find, for example, transmission. Transmission properties is down in here for us for our subsurface. And then what we need to do, medium. Here is our medium output. Once we click this, we've got more options. Take a look at this here. Let me zoom in for you guys. Once I hit it, here it is. I've got absorption. I've got random walk, scatter value, medium switch. And then a couple of these are switch nodes. Those are kind of more like utility nodes. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 different models that we would use for subsurface, creating liquids, that type of thing here. Okay, so again, I'm not going to get into those because that's going to start to break off into a different video. But for example, if I grab our random walk, here is our random walk node. So I guess once we're in cycles, if we look here are our settings for our subsurface. They got your weight, and then these are again affecting the way the color. What does it say? Scattering radius to be used for subsurface components. Okay, so this is not even what I thought it was for the metals and stuff like this. Is for subsurface. Okay, so that's what we've got there for the subsurface. Pretty much, I think that might be it. Multiple scattering GGX. That's the GGX model. Random walk. We've got this other one here. And then you've got this one here. Okay, as far as, let me kill that metallic. And let's actually just kind of get like a color here. Maybe we can see something happening. Okay, there. It's really easy to dial in. I will say it is really easy to dial in some subsurface in cycles. Like boom, like we're ready to go, right? We've got our subsurface. Now if I go back over to Octane, let me get this color chip here. Now for Octane to set that up, it's a little bit more work here. For example, here we've got our albedo and our radius color, right? And whenever we're doing, typically we need to take this albedo, set this to black. And then once we'll come into here, here's our density. If I go ahead and lower that down to like, let's say 10, and then I'm going to come in here, albedo, paste that chip on there, and then paste that chip on there. I think I already, and then my transmission layer, I need to add in another value here. And then what I'll do is add in a grayscale there, and that's going to set that up. Okay, so I add this grayscale value into my transmission, and then from here, I will go ahead and change this from specular, because the specular is going to be more like a glass. We want the diffuse, and the diffuse will set us up to be more like how it is in cycles. And again, it's intense. It's intense, right? Like we just have way more options. There are easier ways to set up subsurface. Like I wouldn't, if I was going to set up subsurface, I wouldn't use a universal material. I would just go straight to a specular material and it'll be ready to go. And matter of fact, there is an Octane database here, which we have, that will allow us to even, there's already a preset that's set up for these type of materials or certain types of like subscattering for skin or subscattering for plastic. I will just drag those in and just, it's like a startup material. Let me just quickly show you. So if I come over here to my tab and I scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and I'll go to my Octane server, there's a thing called Octane DB. If I click on that, what it's going to do is pop up this little node here, and here's our database here. And what I want to do is go to live database, and then there's this thing called starter sets. What I'll do is grab this starter set, and then I'll look in here. We've got emissive, transmission, different ones here. So I will go to mediums, and then within the mediums here is basic absorption. Here it is, basic absorption, diffuse, specular, random walk, diffuse. I would just drag one of these in that will just help me get set up and started for that. For example, I will just say we want the random walk diffuse. I'll grab that, right click on it, hit import, and then I'll close that out. And then boom, now you can see it's already ready to go. And it set me up with the node settings that I need to use for that. I don't need this multi-group layer here, but pretty much here it is. I put an RGB color into the universal material, into the transmission, set that to default diffuse, make this black. And then here's my density. I can control the density. We can go set that to 1, or if you want more 500, you can go deeper, right? So there it is. And then if I want to add that color back in here, add the color chip, and then add the color chip, and then typically make this one a little bit darker. And there it is, right? Again, just way more advanced, okay? That's the random walk and that subsurface. Let's go back over to cycles, and I'm gonna go ahead and reset this. So that was our subsurface there. Then we've got specular. Here is how we've changed our specular model, I guess, on the plastic. Let me change this plastic to something a little bit more darker here, a darker color so we can kind of see. And then my roughness, bring down my roughness a little bit. All right, so there is our specular kind of like model, GGX, multi-scatter GGX, and here's GGX, right? Which I'm quite extremely familiar with. I use GGX all the time. And then again, here is our IOR level. Okay, it was just set to 0.5, and then we can play with the tint on that. And then again, these guys here, which we saw earlier. Now, we'll jump over to Octane. And this is where, for me, I feel, let me reset this also back to default. What I've found for me personally, the specular just looks a little bit better in Octane. I don't know what it is. Now, here it is for us, principal BFD model. This is where I will switch. There's GGX inner preserve. Then we have Beckman. Then we have STD. Anyways, so we're going to go with the GGX just to keep it. And there it is. There's our specular. And for some reason, to me, the way the specular rolls off is like a little bit different than Octane. I mean, than cycles. It's different. Matter of fact, let me get this exact same color chip on that. And let me just paste that on here. We get the color. Okay. just look right here. This is where I'm looking. Just look what we got going on here, right? And then if I come back over to to cycles, and it looks like we do need a little bit more roughness in that. It's just, there's something about it. I don't know what. There's something about it, the way Octane does its specular. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Right? So I don't know. But there it is. These are our different models here. And again, roughness controls, IOR controls are all right there for that. Okay. Now let's go back to cycles. We've got next transmission. And transmission, I guess this is the case where now we're like trying to get into glass or clear plastic. Sorry, clear plastic or glass. And again, for me to set that up in Octane, we got way more settings. It's not as easy as one slider. Like this is what you're going to see the trend, the difference between Octane and cycles. We've got just way more settings here and a little bit more to set up. Okay. Which can be good for some and not for others. Right. So for me to set that up, literally I will come in here. I got my specular, come back down here again, add in let's go here and drop that in. And there it is. And then I can play with this value. Look, this value right here is representing white and black grayscale value. So there it is. All right. There's full on like glassy like, and boom. That's kind of like what we had going in the other one, except it was probably a little bit more darker, huh? So there's that. Let's jump back over to cycles. And clearly you can see here on the cycles one, it has like a way more saturation into the color because again, I'm just lazily setting it up really quickly over here. There's a couple of other settings that you would need to do to get that color to kind of sit like how it's sitting in the other one. And again, I'm just, for the sake of this video, I will just quickly, if you know what you want, I will go back to my Octane database, grab a starter kit and build it from there. And again, we can typically also, again, add in another medium on that, and then even possibly throw in the color onto here and then start playing with all those different values. But again, that's for another video. Okay. So let's go ahead and back that out of there. Go back to cycles. So next on cycles, we have our coating layer. Here is to add like that coat, the clear coat on top, right? Especially when you're doing like car paints and IORs. And here's your tint value. Okay, we have the exact same thing in Octane. If I come back over to Octane, here is our coating layer. And again, we take that to white to really kind of activate it. Now we've got our coating layer on here. And then on top of that, we've got our roughness. We've got our IOR. Okay, then we've got an input for a coating bump. So you can add in a coating bump if you come in here and like they say you went to procedural and you went to, yeah, I don't know. We can go to flakes. Actually, I probably shouldn't have used flakes. But anyways, you can add in a bump there, and then we can add in a coating normal or a bump. And then we get into our thin film layer, which is like how you get like that little rainbow effect here. See, I'm playing with that. You'll see I got that little rainbow glow effect. That's how we play with that. On top of that, we've got the sheen layer, which I'm getting a little bit too far. Let me go back over to cycles. So cycles, we've got our sheen layer. Here's our sheen layer, right? And then the roughness for the sheen layer. Okay, good. Then you got your tint, which we all know about. And then I saw somebody do it before, like how I was getting that gassy look, that rainbow effect on top. I might be missing that. Am I not seeing where they set that up? Normal, sheen. I don't know. Somebody down in the comments can chime in on how I would get that gasoline swirly film look on the top there. I could have sworn I've seen that in cycles before. I could have sworn I've done that in cycles before. I know you can do it. It's just I'm probably missing it. Come on, I'm not seeing it. But anyways, let me go back to Octane. So on Octane, if I want that sheeny, gassy look here, if I set this like for black so we can really see it, here it is. Boom. That's super dope, right? And then once you got the amount, like you still can tweak the IOR on that also. Again, lots of control here. And then also we've got our sheen. You wanted to add that sheen again, turn it to white. We start getting the sheen in here. The sheen definitely kind of stands out a little bit different. And then again, same pattern. We've got the sheen bump, the sheen normals. Okay. So you see the pattern there. We go into transmission. Transmission, we've got some other like little widgetry stuff that's going on that happens sublet. I don't even know what this is. I've never used it. You'll see that pattern a lot. There's a lot of things I just never. And then again, dispersion mode. We've got some more stuff. Again, 747 jumbo jet, right? And then the mediums. This is where we add in our different medium, subsurface scattering, all that stuff. And I talked about the fake shadows earlier. Let's go back over to cycles. Our normals here. So for you guys in cycles, you guys will plug in this normal map and, build off of that. or add in a bump node. For us in Octane, that's built into the node, which one reason that I really enjoyed. For us right here, we get into geometry properties, right? And now we've got our bump. This is where I'll come in. And if I add in a procedural noise texture, like noise texture, I can add in a bump, and then I can control the bump levels here. And again, it's very big right now, so you're not seeing it. Make something smaller. There it is. And then I can control that also right here with this little hand. This is something they've added recently, this little handy dandy bump thing here, right? So there it is. I can add some bump in there. And then if I need to use a normal, same thing. Here's my normal. Again, I can hit these and drop in whatever I need, or a normal map. For us, a normal map, I can just add in literally I can add an RGB image and then load in some type of bitmap or some type of a normal map. Some of you guys may have seen on Instagram that I posted the power of the displacement that we would use here in cycles. We would actually go to, you would plug in here, displacement, and then you add in a displacement node, right? You would add in a displacement node and do, or I don't know, I almost forgot my cycles workflow because it's been so long. I'm always in Octane, but you guys know how to do that. We'll do our displacement from there and then add in your maps and things like that. We don't really need to do all that in Octane. Octane, I can literally just load in right here. I will still need to click and add in a texture displacement or vertex displacement, meaning using vertex. But the texture displacement here works like a little bit kind of black magic, Harry Potter stuff going on. I really don't understand. But if I come in here and load in an RGB image again, bring in an RGB image, it'll be easier to show you here on this plane. If I bring in this plane, and let's go ahead and throw that same material on here, get my UV coordinates in here, fire up the render, and boom, now we see some displacement happening. And you can see it's clearly like bip mapped out. And that's because this textured right here, we're looking at it in 1K or HD. I'll go ahead and switch that to 4K. And then also adjust my mid level. This is how I would adjust my mid height. So again, I would like to set that to like 0.5, apply the scale on that. And there it is. So we've got like this concrete like pattern here, but basically that's how I would do displacement. I would literally do it straight through the node here. And again, this allows me to control, and if I wanted to do some more details, I can crank this up to 4. That's going to give me some more detail in that. And then vice versa, I can add like some blurring in there just to kind of blur, soften the edges up. Many more options. Again, a lot more option. And that's how I would do displacement straight from the node right here. Okay, that's how I would do our displacement. Let's go back to cycles, kill that. So that looks like pretty much, then our emission, we've got our emission here. And again, how we would use the emission would just come in here, change your color, crank up the strength, boom. Now we've got this thing emitting light, right? It's pretty much an emission. The way I would do that also in Octane, if I scroll down here, scroll all this stuff down, here's my emission, right? And again, I'm back on the plane over here. Let's go ahead and bring back in our other thing we had. So if I wanted to bring some emission in here, I'm going to go ahead and kill that stuff. I will come on here, click this here. I can do a black body emission, or I can do a texture emission and an emission switch. That's a utility. I'm going to just do our normal texture emission. And then we bring that in here. Again, I can adjust the colors. Here we change the colors. We can adjust the power. And then I also we have a lot more other options: surface brightness, keep instance power, double-sided. If it was a plane, I want light to be both sides, distribution. It gets crazy. Then look, visibility only on diffuse, only on specular. I just have a lot more control, only cast a shadow. So those are just more options again with the light emission, which I have other videos on my channel that breaks down Octane's lights. But that's how we bring the emission. And then a couple other things that we have that are special to Octane's shader here. If we look here, we got a shadow catcher. So I can turn this into a shadow catcher. Boom. Now it's a shadow catcher. You can see it kind of disappeared there, but there it is. It's still there. It's a shadow catcher, which is really nice for those VFX guys, especially like me. I love to use that. Then we got some other custom AOV stuff. This is a little bit gets more advanced. And then we also have this thing called material layers, where we've got this material. We want to layer some more materials on it. So I click material layer here. And then if I scroll down over here, bring this in, it opens up this layer group system, right? And then I'll start to stack my layers here. Okay, so I want to add also, let's say, a metallic layer on top of this here. So now I've got this metallic layer also stacked on top of that. So this is where you can start to really build out some complex layer systems. And again, I can come in here and again, different types of ones here. We want to add a sheen, a specular. So it gets pretty intense. Again, I don't really use this material layer group too much because what I prefer to do is actually just do it the old cycles way and just add in like a mixed material node, and then do it this way, mixed material. Here's our mixed material node, drop that into there. And then here's our first material. And then here's our second material, which we can make like, you know, we'll call it green here. And then I can just come in here and then add like a noise texture, plug that noise texture into the amount, and then add in, for example, here a UV transform. Let me scale this noise pattern down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is add in a gradient map, which is our version of a color ramp, which is a whole, I'm going to make another video on the difference between a color ramp and a gradient map because there's some differences. And then we can crunch the values, right? And there it is. Okay. So you want to change the noise. Here's our noise. We can change our noise, make it more grungy, do what you want to do with it. Or I can even control the gamma on this and then control the contrast. And boom, there it is, right? Mixing two textures, super easy. Okay. So that's what I like to do. If you guys want to get started right now using Octane, I've got this video here, which will walk you through how to set it up and get everything set up and ready to go. All right. Take a look at that. Catch you guys in the next video. Patrick LeVar. Peace.